5, this is Coast Guard College.
Coast Guard College, would you call the site office to check on...
With the assistance of the Canadian Coast Guard, the first of the tall ships arrived at Sydney, Nova Scotia. These ships of another age had already sailed up the St. Lawrence and Great Lakes waterway to Quebec City and Montreal, some as far as Kingston and Toronto. And wherever they went, the tall ships captured the imagination of the hundreds of thousands who had flocked to see them in the summer of 1984. Now, the tall ships were about to embark on their homeward voyages. Their final port of call in Canada would be the historic 200-year-old maritime city of Sydney on the northeast coast of Cape Breton Island. Sydney was an appropriate departure point for another reason. Sydney is the home of the Canadian Coast Guard College, where Canada's future icebreaker captains, navigation officers, marine engineers, and other highly skilled Coast Guard personnel receive their basic training. For the next week, Coast Guard officer cadets from the college would help play host to some of the largest and most beautiful ships ever to sail the world. They came from most of the great Atlantic sailing nations of Europe and the Americas. In past centuries, similar ships carried explorers, settlers, and adventurers to new lands like Nova Scotia. These tall ships had columnists and broadcasters brushing up on Macefield's words, "I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by." Nowadays, most of the great sailing ships serve as training vessels for young naval and Coast Guard cadets around the world. The ships pass on their age-old secrets of wind and wave. They connect today's young sailors with the romance of the past. There was the German-built three-masted bark Sagres II, launched in 1937. It bears on its sails the red Maltese cross of Portugal. The newest vessel in this international fleet was the Polish three-masted Dar Mojije, launched in 1982 as the sail training ship of the Polish State Sea School. There was the graceful four-masted Russian bark Krusenstern. At 342 feet, the Krusenstern is the largest sailing ship in the world. Built in 1920, the immensely intricate Krusenstern requires a crew of 236, including 160 naval cadets, to man its sails and riggings, its ropes and winches. The West German Navy's Gorsch Fock, with its distinctive eagle figurehead, is home away from home to 204 men. Wherever they sailed in Canadian waters, the tall ships became the responsibility of the Canadian Coast Guard. Canada, with the longest coastline of any nation in the world, boasts the Great Lakes and many thousands of kilometers of great rivers and other waterways. The role of the 6,000-strong Coast Guard is of paramount importance to the nation's economy and for the well-being of those who make their living from or on the sea. While the visit of the tall ships was an extraordinary event, the role of the Coast Guard in assisting these ships was its everyday concern. During the tall ship stay, the Coast Guard College took responsibility for communications, for navigation, for safety, for berthing, for replenishing stores. And for many of the Coast Guard officer cadets pursuing a 3-year course of studies at the new Coast Guard College campus, the visit of the tall ships was an unforgettable adventure. Officer cadets were assigned to the tall ships to act as liaison officers between the vessels and operations ashore.
Maybe tomorrow before we go.
Coast Guard College Director John Reed was in charge of the program.
We put on board each ship what is known as a liaison officer, someone who was an interface between the vessel and everything else ashore. We put two people on board, one from the community and an officer cadet from the college. We kind of thought that the person from the community would be the lead hand here, and the person from the college, the officer cadet, might show them where the showers were or something like that. It's turned out just the opposite. All the ships are using the officer cadets like you wouldn't believe. And these officer cadets, the male, the female, they're being forced to make decisions split second for ships like this about should we or shouldn't we fix this, where can we get that, can you hustle this up, protocol questions, things you just wouldn't imagine, and are just rising to the occasion and are loving every second of it.
For navigation student Denise Giguère, it meant playing a liaison role with the British Class C tall ship Dasher. Off the job, the officer cadets took advantage of the many opportunities to mix with their counterparts from other nations at the numerous social get-togethers that were a memorable part of Tall Ships Week. Before Sydney, some of the Coast Guard College officer cadets had had the chance to actually sail aboard a tall ship as part of its crew. For third-year students Lise Lagu and Graham Gordon, it was a voyage on the U.S. Coast Guard Eagle.
One day we were off Gaspé, we were steaming towards Quebec, the sails were down, and I was up on the Royal, that's the top yard. And you're just holding on, you're just on a line type thing when you're up there, and it's really nice. You're looking all around, and it's nice. It's a nice feeling.
And for a few, the return trip from Quebec had been a chance to make marine history. Joanne McNish, a graduating student from Calgary, was one of the two female officer cadets to sail back from Quebec to Sydney aboard the German vessel Gorsch Fock. It marked the first time that women had ever sailed aboard a German Navy ship.
We learned a lot. We learned a great deal. Being aboard a sailing vessel, I think it's really still geared towards the sea training that we used to hear about, not so much as the diesels now. So we learned a lot, and really enjoyed the German people. It was great.
Even behind the scenes, the tall ships proved a truly international experience. 60 visiting students from a number of Caribbean nations helped the Canadian officer cadets carry out their assignments during the tall ship stopover. From Halifax to Quebec to Toronto, the tall ships had enchanted thousands of Canadians. In Sydney, it's the same. An estimated 100,000 people come to see them. The evening of July 10th, 1984. This is the last night of Sydney's week-long tall ship celebrations. Tomorrow, the ships will be heading back out to sea, and 26 of them will be participating in the inaugural Ports Canada World Cup race from Sydney to Liverpool. At stake is a commemorative medal for every member of the winning crew in each of 3 classes, and the Ports Canada Cup to the overall winner. The morning of July 11th. Behind the scenes, it's the culmination of weeks of planning. John Reed has already completed arrangements for a number of his officer cadets to travel aboard some of the departing tall ships and participate in the transatlantic race.
We've got several on several of the British vessels. Quite a few of our cadets are going to be traveling across the Atlantic this summer on tall ships for the experience and the seamanship and the skills it gives, the comradeship. It's just priceless.
Meanwhile, the Coast Guard is finalizing last-minute preparations for the race. For the Canadian Coast Guard search and rescue vessel Alert out of Halifax, it is a particularly busy time. Under the command of Captain Joe McKenna, the Alert is responsible for making sure everything goes smoothly until the tall ships reach the start line 15 miles out. Further out to sea, extra precautions are being taken to ensure the safety of the race participants while they are still in Canadian waters.
Normally this month we would have 14 icebergs in the North Atlantic, and we've got somewhere between 70 and 90. Where the race was going to go, there was an enormous number of icebergs. So the tall ships organizers have asked for another Coast Guard vessel to stand by, sort of south of the Grand Banks, the Jackman for Newfoundland. And this ship will be doing that, staying duty there for 4 days, monitoring a certain corridor to report on ice activity, the weather and so forth, and generally standing by to assist quite a lot in this tall ships event.
The men of the Colombian Navy's three-masted bark, Gloria, rise to say a colorful goodbye to Sydney and put out to sea.
De cuadernas armoniosas, de siluetas tan marinas, de mesanas tan baubles. Manos entumecidas, fríos venas, por ti desafiamos el huracán. Aguas enfurecidas, sol tropical, contigo cumplimos noble misión.
The Coast Guard College training ship Micula gets ready to escort the ships out to the start line. Everything is ready. The ships sail majestically out to sea. It's a farewell from Nova Scotia to the Sagres II, the Gauche Foc, the Gloria, the Darmogige, and the sleek Krusenstern, which will go on to win this first Ports Canada World Cup race. In light winds, the Krusenstern will complete the Sydney-Liverpool crossing in 18 days. For Canadians who saw them, and especially the Canadian Coast Guard who helped host their visit, indelibly etched in their memories will be the year of the tall ships. For the thousands who watched as the tall ships heeled and bent to the wind as their bows headed seaward, slipping through the patches of mist and sunlight off the Nova Scotia coast, it was the stuff of dreams, of daring do and high adventure, of tall ships and stars to steer them by.